Vid contains minor spoilers. You have been warned. I got you, bro. For StP Lightkravte, or Lightkravte, actually, how do you pronounce this?
Lightkravte.
Okay. Anyway, it's the latest release from Alice in Dissonance for the Fault franchise, but it's technically considered the prequel here, because the setting of the story occurs before the events of the Milestone arc as shown in this timeline. There are two different timelines, you see. The Milestone arc and the Silence Dependent arc. So that's what StP the title means. Okay, the real synopsis of this VN is a young man's journey to become a painter who practices diligently every day with the simplest of goals. That is, to paint portraits of women. Because this person appreciates the beauty of the opposite sex until he's hit with a revelation that poses as an obstacle to his ambition. This VN is shorter than I expected, around 4.8 hours recorded on Steam, which is around 4 hours and 48 minutes, and I wish it was longer, especially in the second half of the story. VNDB's recorded playtime, on the other hand, is around 6 hours and 18 minutes. Again, these characters are not old physically, they're just brought in from the previous VNs. The troubled prodigy, the adorable princess, the compassionate noblewoman, the stoic protector, and the handsome adoptee. Ritona in this VN seems kinda the opposite to how she was in the Milestone arc. Like, she's more self-centered here due to the pressure she's facing as a young prodigy. This is a great sign to me actually because of how she's grown in the Milestone arc, but in here, it's like she doesn't give a damn about anything or anyone except for Selphine. And speaking of Selphine, she's even more adorable here. Adorable and cheeky. God damn it. It reminds me of my nieces. They can be annoying and a pain in the ass sometimes, but yeah, you can't not love them. Another person that's also kind of the opposite to their counterpart in the Milestone arc is Flora. If I recall correctly, she was more of a hard-ass and determined character inside Above, but in StP Lightkravte, she's more of a gentle and caring person and even fragile at times. There's also a competitive side to her as she seeks to live up to her status as a noble in order to contribute back to society and country. Still, her priority is towards her friends. The same thing could also be said for Riggs here. Look at his face. This face of his is most of the time like this, if not all the time. Despite not showing much emotion, he does show concern for his friends and a sense of selflessness, willing to sacrifice himself to protect others. As for this smashing fella, he appears to be rather wise for his age. I don't know, probably because he's adopted and suffered through domestic abuse. But as a result of that, he's an independent person that tries to survive without relying on his parents due to their past history with each other. And I admire that. The admirable protagonist with simple needs, the innocent and sweet angel, and the light-hearted character of Betrayal. The MC here, Kaji, is the heir to a fruit farm that is a designated supplier to royalty, whose dream is to become a painter. To paint what, you ask?
Girls. My favorite hobby is girls.
It's less of a sexual thing, but more of an appreciation of beauty thing. He wishes to, how do you say it? Preserve the beauty of girls onto portraits in his own image. However, he lacks the skill and talents to do so, and therefore has to overcome a number of challenges and obstacles that life throws at him, causing him to be an admirable character, in my opinion. That being said, there are some characteristics of him that I dislike, but I'll mention them later. Adia, on the other hand, doesn't have anything that I don't like. Mainly because she doesn't have that much screen time. Her role in this story is mainly to just tutor the MC for painting. So she's not really that significant of a character, but I like her for what she is, an innocent girl with a pure and simple goal to become a foreigner. And for your information, a foreigner is a gondolier, you know, the boatman that rows the gondola, those ones in Venice. Lastly, this character is a guy. Why?
ルーラーどうしたの変な顔して。
You know what? Whatever. He is a light-hearted person that gets along well with everyone in the group of friends. There are also other side characters, and if you want to know about them, go play the damn game to find out. The main menu page is a very, very calming scene in my opinion. There's just something about it. The shirt itself, the butterflies, or rather soul eaters that fly around. It's a beautiful shot of nature. There's also a button at the bottom right here that allows you to switch between night and day, which is something that I appreciate. After that, the settings page is pretty basic. You could read the story in English, Nihongo, or Chongwen. And as for the English, no grammar or spelling mistakes were found in my experience, so great job on that. In fact, I think the developers took a step further by putting this as a text. Superb storytelling. By the way, this VN still doesn't have voice acting, but it doesn't even bother me at this point. However, a message to the developers: if this series gets voiced in the future, please save me my misery by not adding a settings page that mutes the voices. Anyway, the compensation for no voices is of course the visuals, like how mentioned about the main menu, and the music. They're really pleasing. The sprites have some animations to them which are nice to look at, though I'll say that there are some exaggerated moments. The UI during the storytelling is also really clean, as it just shows the text box and the scene. Mostly ADV, but there are some NVL moments. Besides that, you could move your mouse cursor around to move around the scene, which doesn't really affect me, but yeah, it's just there. The encyclopedia page is also back again to explain the meanings behind certain terms used in this world building. And actually, it's even better because you could access this page during the story. Like, if you see an underlined word like this one here, just click this book and the encyclopedia will pop up to explain about the said word. A really helpful feature. Lastly, you might notice that there are no extras page, which is a shame really, because the visuals and the CGs are good and detailed. So I would suggest to the developers to make one for future games. You don't even need a music page, because I understand if that is what you guys want to sell it off separately, especially since you guys did that kind of thing in previous games. And because also the fact that they are really good and catchy. But yeah, make an extras page please. One thing they added that I appreciate is this chapter feature. However, the execution is not good, because it just shows the numbers instead of adding CGs to the UI. So unless you remember exactly at which chapter that you want to reread, you would not know where to navigate. So this is one thing that could be improved upon, at least in Dissonance. The story structure for this VN is kinetic. No choices. So just keep on pressing the enter button or through whatever way that you use to advance the text. Lightkravte story is more on the chill side when compared to the milestone arc. Like, the atmosphere in this VN is more peaceful and it just revolves around our protagonist, Kaji. I would say that the story is really worthwhile, as its relevance to real life is pretty spot on, meaning that it has the potential to give you life lessons that you may not know about how the way of the world works, about how cruel and life could be. And you just can't help but get emotional or even inspired by someone who's not willing to give up pursuing his dream despite the hardships he had to face. Even connections with other people, which is generally praised to be a good thing, since they provide you opportunities, could also be an obstacle. And speaking of connections, the character interaction in Lightkravte is more or less similar to the previous games, meaning the quality is up to standard in the Fault franchise, appealing and wholesome, especially with the princess here. Sadly, her screen time is not as much as the rest, so she's more like a side character in this VN. As for the other characters, yeah, they each play their own role well enough to have an impact on the story and on the main character, whether it's through direct advices or just tough love. The pacing, however, is like all over the place, but only in like the second half of the story. When the story progresses from one scene to another, it's just like a cut. You know, a cut that feels off. For example, one scene having two characters and then suddenly a third character just enters without having any writing about the third character entering the scene. These little nitpicks have been something that's consistent throughout all the Fault VNs, and now I start to wonder if it's intentional. As for the ending, it's a beautiful one. It's great. But the pacing in the second half of the story kind of ruined the VN overall. It's like how Giga says about Code Geass.
Season 2 was a car crash that somehow perfectly parallel parked. Like, it
So yeah, that's how it feels to me. The thing I like about HBN is its visuals and OSTs. Yeah, I know that I'm repeating it, but it's just that good. The sprites have a certain number of animations to them, like these subtle head tilts, and there are some animations in the orgasm phase of the story. To add to that, the music is just catchy. When I first read it, my body just like automatically vibing with the OSTs. I also want to give credit to the MC. I like his character for the most part, purely due to just his determination. It's motivating to read about him overcoming his challenges. I also love how he writes a diary to his late mother, RIP, as a way for him to communicate his feelings towards her. Plus, his father is also a great parental figure. Reminds me of my own parents. Love you, Papa and Mama. Hope you guys never find out that I make weird videos on YouTube. And also the fact that he's a pervert. But more like a mild pervert, not that high, really low, really low. I mean, hey, girls are the main reason why he wants to paint in the first place, right? That being said, I do not like him being too much of a wimp. He overreacts a bit too much, in my honest opinion, like an unnecessary exaggeration. For example, look at this face and this pose here. What the fuck is that? Hell, you even get kids to call you cringy. Well, the pose itself, it kind of suits his character, but it's used too many times, and this is one part that the improved visuals in this VN is a drawback. During these exaggerated moments is the time that I am grateful that this VN has no voice acting. I can't imagine how annoying his voice could be. And to be honest, I'm not even bothered anymore that this VN has no voices, even when there are no instances of... One thing I wonder though about the direction that Alice in Dissonance is taking here is how they're gonna connect the two arcs together. The StP arc is set in the past, 5 years ago, with new characters, and even the story itself is through the eyes of a new protagonist. Plus, the characters in StP arc were not even mentioned in the Milestone arc, if I recall correctly. Would Kaji even be in it? And if so, as what? How would it contribute to the story, etc.? AID making this new arc is a risk, honestly speaking. It could be a high risk, high reward kind of thing. Who knows? They might actually pull it off in connecting the two arcs, or it could just go down the drain. Regardless, I can't wait to find out. But do you know what's a poor decision made by AID? This character is a betrayal.
We've been tricked, we've been backstabbed, and we've been quite possibly bamboozled.
You know what my reaction was when I found out? To make matters worse, Sonata was my choice for best girl in this VN.
The ultimate woman is a man.
God damn you, developers! I would like to admit something. This copy of the game was provided free to me by Alice in Dissonance. Yay! But I didn't want to disclaim it early in the video because I wanted you guys to check out my review without knowing beforehand in order to determine whether my opinions were my own or not. Plus, this is my first time getting a free copy, so I wanted to make it even more right. Which is why I made videos on the previous two VNs by AID in the first place. Except that those two were bought with my own money. I even said this in the Milestone 1's review. Still, there is an incentive to why I'm reading this series, but let's just get to it. Anyway, whew, after getting that off my chest, I feel way better now. let's finish up. All in all, for StP, Lightkravte is a visually stunning visual novel about a young man's journey to overcome his disadvantages. A story that also provides applicable life lessons to readers. I think that this VN is a worthy sequel in the Fault series that doesn't need first-time readers to play the prequels in order to enjoy the story, while also giving adequate fan service to readers that have played the previous games. Despite having some problems in the second half of the story and overused exaggerations in character personality, the Degen score from me is an 8.5. And that's all from me. Hope you guys can like and subscribe if the content is degenerate enough. Later, gents.